Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, what is up? The king of lightning here today, bringing you guys and gals as usual. Akame ga Kill episode reviews. Today is Akame ga Kill episode 22. That is 2 of Akame ga Kill, and of course, the episode link can be found in the box below on Crunchyroll.com. Now, this episode is mainly the fight between Akame and Kurome. That's the main meat, the main substance. But before I get to that, I'm going to talk about everything else in the episode. Because this episode does have a lot of small stuff going for it that's actually pretty important. So, first thing I want to talk about here is episode 23. Because in this episode, we find out that Honest and the Emperor and like the higher up dudes, apparently they have a hidden weapon. Some giant Imperial arm. Some big dude with a cape that fires out like particle beam cannons, like Gil Vader, just big and lasers. And I'm like, what the fuck? And he's a cape. Why does the Imperial arm have a damn cape and it's so freaking big? Makes no sense, but it does. It's kind of cool, but weird. And apparently, Big Man, they're gonna use Big Man as a means of not only fighting against the invading army and the night raid, but also as a means of regulating the populace. So instead of trying to work things out with the populace and trying to come to negotiations and altering policies to appease the masses, no, fuck it. We're going to regulate via force, and we're going to use Big Man. And I'm like, really? Like, the dead ass? I mean, I'm not surprised, but I'm like, come on now. Like, this dude is the definition of unnecessary. I'm like, yo, big lasers and a cape, so unnecessary. But that's what's happening. So next episode is going to be like the night raid and the army versus Big Man, I think. And I'm not too sure where Esdeath fits, but we're going to see next episode, and we're going to see next week. Though, I do believe that next episode, the Emperor's going to die. And the reason why is because the Emperor is not overly evil. He's not a bad kid. But because he apparently is so absent-minded about the situation around him and the populace of the capital, furthermore, he's being led by a string by Honest all the time. Just doing what Honest does. Doing what Honest says. Even though he's not a bad kid, he is an extreme liability given his power that is always being manipulated by Honest. So you gotta kill him. It's unfortunate, but it has to be done. It has to be done. Now, the next thing I want to talk about here. In this episode, we get to see Esdeath like once, fighting against these random army platoon of the Revolutionary Army. And two things here. Number one, she takes out an Imperial Army user. This guy was using the same battle axe that we've seen before. One of the guys who was formerly a part of Esdeath's clique, the Liver Trio dudes, who have the twin battle axes, that guy has his axe, because he was taken out by Bulau. And the Night Raid took that shit for themselves. And he gets one shot by Esdeath. She cuts the air, makes an ice wave, and he just dies, gets cut in half. So again, even though folks have Imperial arms, Esdeath is a cut above the rest, truly. Like, she's just so good, it's not even funny. Untouchable. And what's also fascinating is now she's even more motivated to find Tatsumi. And the reason why is because Tatsumi escaped death. He was going to be executed, but he wound up escaping because of his friends, because of the night raid. And in this episode particularly, Esdeath sees herself as the Shinigami, as the Grim Reaper. So in some weird twisted sense, because he escaped death, he escaped her. Therefore, she's now more motivated to find him. In fact, him running away has strengthened their bond in her mind. I mean, now, like before, it was kind of like puppy dove high school love. Like, you know, like not a big deal. But this puppy dog high school love has now morphed into like full-blown obsession. Sakura. That's what it is pretty much now. Like, oh, he ran away from me? I'm gonna go and get him now because I'm really stoked. Like, he ran away for a fucking reason because you're crazy. Because you're just nuts. Leave the man alone. But apparently not. Apparently, no. Our bonds are not even stronger. I'm gonna find him. Make love to him. Sweet, weird, sadistic, you know, BDSM love. So, I don't know what this is, but fuck it. I just, So, Esteth right now, again, doing her thing, but it's getting weird. I mean, it's been for a while, but now it's getting really, really weird. So, fuck it. Then that is what it is. Moving on. We get to find out more about Run. Run pretty much is revealing that he wanted to change the system from the inside out. He knew that the Imperial Capital was a very corrupt place. And he knew that eventually the army would come in there and the citizens would try and overthrow the system. His goal was to join the Jaegers, which he did, and try and change the system for the better. So he's actually in an odd situation because he's trying to change the system, but he's not marching outside with the Revolutionary Army. But matter of fact, he's doing it from the inside. So he's like a semi-spy, but not really. Like, he has his own ambition. Like, he's not trying to overthrow the Imperial Capital. He's trying to change it for the better. At least I think so, for the better. So, it is what it is there. However, I do want to note, or I do want to make note, that the last time we saw Run, and Run seemed to have this demeanor, this aura, if you would, of his own ambitions, because he has his own agenda, and when he made light of this, he seemed to have a much more sinister demeanor. So I'm not too sure if this is entirely the case. He says he wants to change the Imperial Capital for the better, but it may be the case where his version of better may not be so much better, you know? Like, it may be like some really warped, twisted version of good. Quote-unquote good. So, again, that's the way you see about that as well. Now, the last thing here I want to talk about is the fight. Now, the fight was okay. So let me go to this. Animation overall was pretty good, as usual. The pacing is where we get in trouble, because it kind of fucked up the fight. So there was a flashback. Like, we have Akame and we have Kurome. They're eating snacks before they actually fight against each other. And they're reminiscing about the past for quite a bit of time. It's not like it was a 2-minute thing. It was quite a bit of time. Talking about the past and how she betrayed them. Not getting into too much, like, specific details, but still enough to where it took up some time. So, that to me, I felt was unnecessary. And the reason why is because they could have given us a Kurome, Akame flashback long ago. But they chose not to. They chose to do it here, and they tried to squeeze in the fight when you had other things going on while the fight was actually occurring. So, this brings up the next thing about the pacing. In the midst of their battle, you have two things that kind of bring the fight to a screeching halt. You have this random danger beast come in there, and then you have Wave's interference. So, the fight had a slow start to begin with because you had the flashback, which could have been given to you early on in the series. But not only that, but also you had this random danger beast come out of nowhere and take out Kurome's zombies, Natala and Dola. Dollar, dollar bill, yo, dollar, dollar bill. And that was... because we expected a one-on-one fight between two sisters. That's what it was hyped up to be. It was Akame, Kurome, one-on-one bout to wrap up all this bad blood between them, even though they love each other still. So when you have this random-ass danger beast come in there, you bring that to a screeching halt. And then when you have Wave and Tatsuki come in there and talk about certain ideals and convictions, and Kurome come to some realization in the midst of the fight, you bring the fight itself to another screeching halt. So the pacing was not good for the fight at all, whatsoever. And I do understand that there are differences between the anime and the manga. I am fully aware of that. I've gotten a lot of PMs about that. I'm fully aware of that. So I don't know how it played out in the manga, but in the anime, so let me jump over to the progression of that fight in of itself. The fact that you had a danger beast come out and take out Natala and Dola, to me, was a really bad move. Because you knew that Akame was going to win based on two things alone. Number one, plot armor. She's the main character, if not the main character or protagonist, whatever. And number two is you knew that Kurome's body was slowly decaying over the course of time ever since Shele stabbed her in the neck. So, based on those two things alone, you knew that Kurome was going to die. But when you have this random danger beast take out the two most prominent zombies left among her arsenal, which could have evened out the fight in Kurome's, not in her favor, but it could have made the fight a lot more dangerous for Akame. Because Akame, she ends off the fight with very little wounds. Like maybe like a scratch here or there, but that's pretty much it. I mean, she collapsed at the end of the fight, but she's not that wounded to where she's going to be out for a period of weeks or months. Because when I first knew that this fight was going to happen, when I first saw it on the horizon, I figure when their fight is over, Kurome's dead and Akame is bedridden for a period of weeks or months because of the wounds that she suffered in that fight. But no, like she could walk away from this fight easily. So when you remove the two zombies because of this random fucking danger beast, it sucks. It sucks massively. So that to me I didn't like at all. Not at all. And I understand why Wave was in it in the first place, because, you know, Wave, he has feelings for Kurome. But the fact of the matter here is that that stunned the fight as well, in that sense as well. Because, you know, you had this, you had these high-octane movements going on between sisters, and the swordplay was pretty nice, but all of a sudden, it comes Wave, stop the fight, we're going to slow the shit down real slow, and we have more dialogue in the midst of the battle. Like, no, a lot of times, dialogue should be siphoned off to the side so you can focus on actual combat. But here, no, not the case. Not the case. So, that was also a big thing for me. My phone's ringing. So, overall, the episode. Honestly, I think it's okay. It's not what I hoped it to be. I was hoping for a very good... I was hoping to give this overall episode a rating of a great to amazing. And the fight itself, I was hoping to give it like an amazing to yo. But overall, the fight wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. And because I had these high expectations, I guess because... Yeah, I mean, they weren't pretty high, but still, even if they were high, they wouldn't even qualify to, at least in my mind, it wouldn't be as good as, let's say, Mine and City Ubiquitous. That was a freaking beastly-ass fight. Or Bulout and Liver. Or, let's say, you know, like, there are... Here's the thing. Let me keep it simple. There are much better fights in this series. Laba and fucking Shura. There are much better fights in this series than Akame versus Kurome, when it shouldn't be the case. Akame and Kurome should be one of the best fights, period. But it's not. It's an okay fight, but it should be an amazing fight. I'm just saying. That's the way I see it. I can't lie to you. So, overall. And then also, one last thing before I go. There was a lot of flashback stuff that was fascinating to some degree. And we get to see Akame back in the past when she was doing work for the Imperial Capital. Now, I do recall that there is a manga that's ongoing that involves Akame's past, a prequel series. And when we saw some of the flashback stuff of Akame in the past with her unit, there was a girl with silver hair next to Natala. And that interested me because she seemed like a very relevant character, given her character design. But we don't know who she is. So my assumption here is that if you read, or if you're a reader of the prequel series that involves Akame in the past when she's serving the Imperial Capital, you know who that girl is with the silver hair. So overall, again, the episode, I'm gonna give it a rating of an OK plus. It should be a great episode, but I'm gonna say OK plus. It's not bad. It's not a bad episode at all, but it's not as good as what it should have been, based on the hype alone. So that's it. I'm done. I need to make an addendum to this video because there is one thing I forgot about, but it is fairly important. It's the reason why Negenda is still alive, because we knew that based on her connection with Susanoo, if she had used Susanoo's maximum powers 3 times, her life force would have been completely drained. So it was fairly odd to see her still alive, despite the fact that she had used his powers 3 times. Now, in the episode, according to her, she states that the reason why she's still alive is because Susanoo used its own life energy to maintain that form. So she wouldn't have to die as a means of saving everyone else there. But he would still be able to engage in combat max power. So, in essence, what she says, to wrap it up, is Susanoo was not a tool, but her partner. So, that's the reason why Negenda is still alive, which I think is, to some degree, an ass pull, to some degree, bullshit, because if you have established rules and powers, and then you negate them in such a fashion, I'm not a fan of that. I'm really not. But I guess for the sake of the story, it'd be better to have Negenda and Esdeath wrap up their issues, have their fight in the future, as opposed to having Negenda die because she gave her life energy to Susanoo. So I guess it makes for a better story later on. So that's it. I'll see you guys later.